In the beginning of Will's elevator ride, he is reminiscing on memories of him and Sean. Quote, Sean would twist the lid tight and the two of us would sit on a bench and watch them fly around, bumping into each other, trapped until one by one the lights went out. Page 69. I think after this poem, Will is dead. This poem is sort of a transition from Will walking to the elevator to being in the elevator. This yellow lit hallway feels like it's like a path to the waiting room awaiting the afterlife, which this room is represented by the elevator. The important part about this poem is how it talks about these bugs being trapped until one by one they die, or the lights go out. I think this alludes to how Will is now dead and is entering a trap, the elevator, with other dead beings. Another interesting thing that stands out to me is how Will started on the 7th floor and goes down 6 floors. This is important because dead people are buried 6 feet below ground, and since Will is now dead, he is being taken down and down into the afterlife. Another important thing I noticed is how the word loser is constantly represented by the L button on the elevator. I think this means that Will is now the loser because he has died. The elevator is sort of like Will's journey or ride to the afterlife. And when Sean asks, quote, you coming? Final page. This is sort of like an invitation to join the afterlife with the rest of his long-lost family and friends. Also, there's an abundance of words that point to the idea that Will is now dead. Will refers to the elevator as a vertical coffin. Adding on to that, one of Will's random thoughts mentions how ear ringing sounds more like a flatline than a bell. A flatline is a noise announced when someone has died, meaning their heart has now stopped. I feel like this description represents how Will is now dead. I think Will is already dead for many reasons. Will is seeing ghosts and is seeing people who have died before him. If Will was alive and fully coherent, I think Will would have executed with his plan of killing Riggs in order to get revenge. Will was filled with so much grief and agonizing pain due to the death surrounding him. Will's mother seemed to be in a deep, dark place which he could not escape. Will's one and only brother was now gone. Will had no one to turn to, and no one to reassure him about his plan. Will was filled with so much anger and didn't have it in him to kill another person. So he took this anger out on himself and committed suicide. This was the only option Will had left. As the ghosts exit the elevator, Sean asks Will if he is joining them in the afterlife or not. And we are left on this cliffhanger. We all have a different understanding of this ending, which is what makes it mysterious and leaves us wondering what happens. One thing to add, quote, and just before it was shut, before the door clocked in place, 4 fingers slipped in, just barely catching it, page 285. So this quote is explaining how Sean, just came in and saved Will from what he was about to do. Saved Will from going to the lobby and getting revenge. This is important because Sean is the only person who could possibly stop Will from executing his plan. So at the end of the book, I think the words "you coming" are suggesting that Will has to decide if he is going to come to the afterlife or not. Will either can leave this waiting room and continue the cycle of gun violence, or he can make the decision to leave the elevator with the rest of the ghosts. Previously, I suggested that Will was dead before he got onto the elevator, and this goes along with what I'm about to explain. I think if Will decided to go to the lobby, he would be given a second chance at life, but continue this beef and lead to more and more of his close family and friends being killed. I believe Will decided to go with the rest of the ghosts to the afterlife, because each of these ghosts had convinced and scolded Will that his plan was wrong in numerous ways. This shifted Will's perspective and his thinking, and led him to this decision of not executing his plan.